It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman, and this show is brought to you by SubashTechnosis.com. You go to SubashTechnosis.com if you need a website designed, search engine optimization, any kind of data entry, outsourcing, content writing, press releases. Even if you have a website and you need customer service, you can go to SubashTechnosis.com. You can work out a deal with them where they'll do your customer service on your website when you want to chat with a customer service rep on your website there. And if you go to SubashTechnosis.com, be sure to mention Ed Opperman, the Opperman Report. I've known Subash over 10 years, and if you mention my name, I'm sure he'll give you a good deal. Also, check out OppermanReport.com. That's where we have our special members section for the radio show. There's extra content in there. You'll find shows, you'll find documents, you'll find videos, all kinds of content that you won't find free on Friday nights or on Saturday nights. Okay, we got a really special show today, something I've been looking forward to for a while. We have Lydie Denier, and she was the former fiancée to Ambassador J. Christopher Stephen. She wrote a book called A Voice for Ambassador J. Christopher Stephen, which, if you don't recognize the name, that's the ambassador that was had this horrific death in Benghazi, Libya. Miss Denier, are you there?
Yes. How are you, Ed?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell us about yourself. Who is Lydie Denier?
Well, by the accent, we'll know that I'm French-born. I've been in the United States for about 31 years. Very proud to be an American. And I was in the movie industry for a very, very, very long time. I started at the age of 14 years old. I was a model, then moved to the States when I was 18. And I became an actress. I was on General Hospital back in '89. I've done lots of commercials, lots of movies. I have about 48 credits between movies, television movies and movies. And I actually started in country music, believe it or not. I worked for music video, just for country music, for John Denver, Ronnie Milsap, Bonnie Raitt, and that's how I started because my English was so bad that I was just a face in music videos. So this is why I came to the States. America was the land of opportunity, and as a little girl, since I was 5 years old, I was always fascinated with cowboys and Indians. And it might sound funny, but back then. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, we had movie night at my parents allowed me to watch one movie a week, and it was on a Wednesday night, and it was a cowboy movie. So to me, I always wanted to come to America.
Well, now that you've been here 31 years, has it lived up to what you dreamed it would be?
Well, when I arrived, the Hollywood, the Hollywood you see on television overseas with the red carpets and the movie stars. When I stepped foot in Hollywood back in 1985, it didn't look the same. Imagine glamour, and it was not glamorous at all at the time. Hollywood was very dirty, and I was disappointed, but I stayed, and eventually, I learned to love it, and the food got better. I thought I was not really into the hamburgers and at all, and so food got better. Wine is becoming excellent. So there's lots of things, and I'm so used to be here. I have lots of friends, and I made a life here, and I don't think I will ever retire anywhere else but the States.
And you live in California now?
I'm in Southern California, yes. It's extremely hot today. It's over 90 degrees still. So, but it's, you know, you look, it's sunny every day, and it helps, I think.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm in southern Nevada. I'm in the Las Vegas area. So 90 degrees is kind of a day off for me.
It's cold. It's snowing for you.
Yeah, that's right. And we are kind of catching up with the wine, right? The United States is catching up with the rest of the world as far as wine goes, right?
Yes. I mean, trust me, back from 1985 to nowadays, I love doing a trip to Napa and Sonoma. And I have friends who have... wineries, and they always tell me, but you love wine so much, you should, own a winery. And I said, why? I have friends who have wineries. I can come and go anytime I want. So it's easier. But no, I think there's some really fantastic wine in California. In Portland also, I was in Portland a few years ago, and it's really good. And no, it's coming along.
Yeah, I was just up in Northern California around Sonoma. It's a beautiful area. And if you could stop those little small wineries and stuff like that, it's a beautiful time.
It's amazing, yes.
So now, give us an idea. Now, you were engaged to marry Ambassador Christopher Stevens. Now, how did you two get in contact? How did you meet?
So we met, it was September 1994. At the time, I was on a television series called Tarzan. And I played the title role of Jane. It was the basic Tarzan, Jane, Cheetah. It went on for 3 years. Aaron Spelling, at the time, was the distributor of the TV show. And my producers were Max and Micheline Keller. And the show got sold in 87 countries around the world, including Egypt. And here I was on a flight to Cairo to promote my show, Tarzan. At the time, I was not an American citizen yet. So I was on what we call an H-1 visa. It's a work permit that you have to renew every year. And the renewal arrived as I was going to go to Cairo. So normally what you have to do is for me, being in Southern California, you cross the border to Tijuana, you go to the American consulate, they put back the stamps on your passport, and you come back and you're good for 1 more year of working. Or I used to go to Paris, and I could see my family, who they all in Brittany, on the west coast of France. But this time there was no time. No Tijuana, no Paris. I ended up in Cairo. And the woman in charge of the party in Cairo, her name was Mary Frances. And she said, don't worry, I know someone who works at the consulate, and we'll go see him when you arrive. Just bring your paperwork, and, they'll put it in the computers and they'll stamp your passport. I was a little scared. I've never been in the Arabic world before, so it was really unknown to me, a little scary. But here I was over there, and I told Mary Frances, I said, hey, when are we going to go to the consulate? Because, I really, really need to get that stamped before I come back to the country. She said, don't worry, we'll go see my friend Chris on Sunday. And on Sunday, I said, Sunday, do they work on Sunday? She said, yes, don't worry, he'll be there. And it was Chris Stevens. Mm-hmm. So as we were waiting down the lobby, and here came that very tall guy, and blonde blue eyes, and this beautiful resplendent smile, and my heart stopped. I thought, oh my God, I don't know who he is, but this is going to be the father of my children. I immediately, completely fall in love with him. And I didn't know it was the Chris.
But wait a second.
Talking to me about.
You didn't even know if he was married or not yet. You already having children?
No idea. He was not wearing any ring. But as he walked towards us, he said, hello, my name is Chris Stevens. And I couldn't even remember my own name. So Mary Frances said, this is Lydie. This is the French actress I told you about. And, oh my God. So we went upstairs, in his office, and very small office. And we chit-chat about a few things. And I was completely smitten by anything that he was saying. And he said, okay, can I have your paperwork? And just wait, I'll be back. And it took him a long time to come back. And for sure, I really thought that, okay, something is wrong with the renewal of my H-1 visa. And for sure, I'm not going to be able to go home. Because me home, back then and now, it's America. This is my home.
Right.
And he came back and said, we had a problem with the computers. Can you come back tomorrow? And I said, no, can't come back tomorrow. Tomorrow it was like they had organized a cruise on the Nile for me for 4 or 5 days and then go home. So I could not. And I was really frightened. I said, well, can you try to do it this afternoon? Can you try? And Mary Frances said, well, Chris, why don't you keep Lydie's passport? Come to the party tonight. It's, in honor of the Al-Aram newspaper that's coming out in French, but it's also for Lydie's show Tarzan, and just come. So he kept my passport. Now, weeks later, because of course we saw each other, really quick, he came for the holiday season in San Francisco, because this is where his family lives. And back, when I saw him again, he said, I have to tell you a little secret. I wanted to see you, but I didn't know how. So the computers were not broken. They were not down. It's just I had to find a solution to see you again. And he did.
He stole your passport, and so you'd have to come back and get it. Well,
and when he arrived at the party, he pulled out because to me, it's like, I say, hi, how's everything? Do you have my passport? Because to me, it was the scary thing not to have a passport to go anywhere. And he said, yes. And in French, he said to me, here's your passport. And I was like, oh my God, you speak French? He said, of course. He said, I learned French, and he told me where I learned French in Morocco. And it was amazing. He spoke French like I did. He could speak, politics, economics, and all in French. It was amazing. He was extremely, extremely good with languages.
So in your relationship, did you mostly converse in French?
No, English.
English.
Sometimes in French, but I used to giggle every time he spoke French to me. And he said, you're always making fun of me when I speak French. I said, I'm not making fun of you. I'm giggling because when you do speak my language, which you do really well, you have a Moroccan accent because he learned French in Morocco. So to me, it sounded so cute, funny. And but he said, yes, but I can speak French. I can speak politics, economic in your language. And I said, and it's great. And I said, one day I will speak Arabic fluently because he also spoke Arabic. And Arabic is a very, very difficult language. And, there's few words that I could speak, but the way he did, definitely not. And
What was his fascination with the Middle East?
He always had this fascination with the Middle East since he went to Morocco. He was there for 2 years. He taught English in a school over there. And it's always been, he was fascinated by it. Some people would say, oh, it comes from a past life, maybe. But always, and he wanted to go and help over there and discover the different cultures. So he passed the test to work for the State Department. And the first time he did, he actually failed. So he went back to law school, got a degree, moved to Washington, D.C., and he worked for a law firm. But he passed the test again for the State Department because he knew that he could get a job that would be just for the Middle East. And this is what he wanted to do. And he got finally. And he went to many countries, throughout the Middle East. And but he had this passion, especially the passion for Libya. He always said Libya, it's his first love. He just loved the Libyan people, its culture, the history of the Middle East also. And, Egypt, to me and to lots of people who have been in Egypt, or some people that I know from the State Department who did work in Egypt for the State Department, Egypt is very romantic. I know people's mind, Paris is very romantic, but Egypt, the smell, the call of the prayers, going have tea with the Bedouin in the desert and riding camels, and you felt like like in a movie. It's beautiful. It's colors. It's unless you've been there, and someone. There's a woman who read my book, and she said, "Oh my God, I was in Egypt a few years ago, and it reminded me of my trip, because in it I do describe, of course, my arrival in Cairo, and I was there for almost a year and a half. As soon as we started dating, and really quickly, I must say. But it's beautiful. It is beautiful. It's very sad that now it's dangerous to go. And, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get any better throughout the Middle East. Not yet, at least.
Neither do I. But I'm curious to that. He went to be a teacher first in Morocco, and then went to work for the State Department.
Yes.
So he went to be a teacher as a civilian.
He actually applied for a job. He wanted to do. He wanted to do something. He didn't want to stay in the States. He didn't want to, go into school, be a lawyer. He wasn't sure he wanted to be a lawyer. And this is where he took first. But it's not something he wanted. He said, even when we started dating, and it's like, okay, what do we do? Do I quit the movie industry? Do I quit, does he quit the State Department? But this is how he learned. And joining the Peace Corps from 1983 to 1985. And so he was a volunteer over there in Morocco. But he wanted to do something different. And via the State Department, when I met him, he was in the consulate, and he was not happy. This is not dealing with visas and people who want to immigrate in the States was not something he wanted to do for the rest of his life. And but really quick, he became a political officer, and he liked to be on the political side.
Now, how did this relationship work out? If you were living in the United States in California and he was in Egypt, because you were only there for a short time, how long was your trip to Egypt? Just a couple of weeks, right?
So a couple of weeks. When he came to visit me in California during the holiday season of 1994, I went back. I was on a flight. I had lots of mileage with TWA. I was on a flight every month, spending at least no less than 10 days to 2 weeks with him. So I was back and forth, until after his tour in Cairo, he was for 2 years in Washington, D.C. Okay. So that helped.
Because you had a lot of frequent flyer miles, you're saying, so you were able to fly to Egypt back and forth.
Oh my God, I could have gone around the world at one point. I mean, at TWA, they knew me. I took the same route. LA to New York, Paris, Cairo. It was a long flight, very long flight. But, when you're in love, it doesn't matter. I wanted to see him, and we wanted to spend as much time together as possible. It was new for me, this world and his line of work. It was new for him too. Every time he came to Hollywood, and meet my friends who are actors or my friends who are producers. It's very different. But he was really good at adapting himself with different people, and he was a fantastic diplomat.
Right. Okay. And but part of the time too, he would be in D.C. and you would also go to D.C. to visit him.
Oh yes. I spent a lot of time in D.C. D.C. was easy for me because I could make it a home and go to L.A. to Los Angeles if I have a job, or if it was an audition. It was very easier than flying from the Middle East back to Los Angeles.
So then, how long were you two engaged? How long was the relationship?
Well, we broke up right after September 11th, 2001.
Really?
Yeah.
So that date is like, because you met in September 1994.
We met, it was Sunday, September 11th, 1994. We broke up after September 11th, 2001. So the 11th, it's a date for him, and he died on the 11th. It's, you have to think, what if? And that's why I wrote the book. It's part of a grieving process, definitely. 3 years ago, I told his mom, I said, I'm thinking about writing a book. And she thought it was a good idea because she said it will help you to put those memories in a safe place so you can move on. And as hard as it was, because this book is 3 years in the making, and but I feel good about it. He is in a safe place, and there will always be a place in my heart for him, definitely, because someone who has been that long in your life, and even though when we broke up, we got back in touch with each other in 2008. And until 3 weeks before he died. So it's like, he was part of my family. So many years, you cannot forget that many years. And like I said before, to friends who ask or people who read the book, they said, but, normally you don't always talk about a former fiancé or the ex, you have, and I said, some people have really bad ex, and they will never write a book about her or him. But Chris was a great ex. And I dare anyone to find someone who has something bad to say about him. And during my research on meeting people who cross his path for this book, I've met other girls, like I met the one that was just before me and one of the last ones. And we all have great things to say about Chris. Never something bad. So to me, he deserved to be known. He deserved for people to discover who he was and what a great guy he was. And he was really good at his job.
Now, you talk about before, you were saying about how upset you are to see so much violence and strife and chaos going on in the Middle East now. Christopher Stephen, what was he the ambassador in Libya before the coup, or did he go in there after the coup?
Well, he was there twice before. The first time he was there as the chargé d'affaires, the DCM. Then he went back in 2011 when he was a special envoy in Libya. So because he was, he had been in Libya before during, hard time. Of course, he was the perfect candidate to ask, to be the ambassador to Libya. It made sense. There was no one at the time that was as knowledgeable as he was. back then. I mean, there was other people, of course, but he was really, really knowledgeable. So from deputy chief of mission, he was there in 2007 to 2009. And, and then from March 2011 to November 2011 during the Libyan revolution. So when you arrive in Tripoli as a U.S. ambassador to Libya, nobody was surprised that the State Department, our government picked him to go there because it made sense that there was nobody to think of that would have done a better job than he did. I mean, unfortunately, he didn't do as much as he wanted to because unfortunately he died too quickly. But thinking of, and I talked to a lot of people, I said, could they have sent somebody else? I said, but he was the one who knew Libya and the Libyans, and he had relationships over there. So, and he was happy. I mean, Chris always wanted to become an ambassador. When he was a little boy at the age of 5, in his neighborhood in Piedmont, California, they called him the little ambassador back then. So it's, I think you have a goal in life, and he went for it.
Now, was he in favor of overthrowing Gaddafi?
Not really. He said, you know what you're going to lose, but you don't know what you're going to get. And that's the problem. He always thought that it is better to work with someone. And, granted, Gaddafi was not a good person, and he was definitely not in favor of him. But the problem, he really thought that as soon as Gaddafi is going to be gone, it might be worse. And on that level, he was right.
Okay, so now Ambassador Christopher Stephen was appointed by Hillary Clinton, her State Department.
Yes.
Now, it's always said that they were friends, that they were great friends, and she loved him. Do you know anything about that?
Well, to me, when she said, well, we were friends, yet he didn't have her cell phone number. And to me, my friends have my cell phone number. So I'm not sure she should have used the word friend, maybe an acquaintances, but that's it, but she's never been to his home. He's never been to her house. So when she said they were friends, I'm not sure what she means by that.
Well, like political friends to the point at least that she would appoint him to this position.
Yeah, but then again, back then, I mean, we say, okay, we need an ambassador to be the ambassador to Libya. I guarantee you that within the State Department, the name Chris Stevens was mentioned over 100 times.
Gotcha.
He was the guy to be there because he had the knowledge of Libya.
What was his relationship like with Gaddafi?
Well, he didn't really talk to me about his relationship with Gaddafi. The only thing I know is that he prepped somebody from the State Department to go over there, but he never really, said anything to me about him. I'm not sure. I don't think they were friends.
He's better friends than Hillary, baby.
I think, it's like, keep your friend close and your enemy even closer. Right. I think, he kept him really close to make sure that nothing happened. But I don't think they were, having tea on a regular basis. Definitely not.
Okay, but now, did he feel that Gaddafi was a popular leader in his country?
Well, he felt that Gaddafi did, bad things to its people. So definitely he he was not a nice person. But yet, when Gaddafi being gone, then who would take over.
Right.
And we've been seeing lately who's really taking over. And there's more killings. There's more. It's horrible what's happening over there. Horrible. It's chaotic. Well, extremely chaotic.
Oh, yes. Now, the people who have taken over, aren't these the same militias that we were arming and training in order to overthrow Gaddafi?
Yes.
Right. So, okay. So but Mr. Stevens, he couldn't see that coming. He couldn't see that being a problem. Well, what was his? Would he talk to you about this?
That's something he wouldn't have talked to me about. That. Okay. That's something he would have talked to with his superior. The only thing that I have knowledge of is on September 9th, 2012, he did talk to Gregory Hicks. Gregory Hicks is one of the whistleblowers at Congress, and Gregory was his deputy chief of mission, so right underneath Chris. And he told Greg, he said, I don't think I'm going to finish my tour as ambassador. It's getting too tough and too dangerous, and the lack of security. Chris and his team sent over 600 requests within a month to get more security, which they did not get. So he told Gregory, he said, not only am I not going to finish my tour as ambassador, but I'm really thinking of retiring from the State Department and do something completely different. What Chris wanted to do is teach. He would have loved being a teacher. And I really believe if he had to do his life all over again, he will teach. That was his, something we would have loved to do. And most likely he would have come back in California, either teach at UCLA, taking the Middle Eastern courses and teach Arabic or teach, that's what he wanted to do.
Okay, this might be a good time to take a little commercial break. Now, I forgot to tell you off the air, the commercial break it's 4 minutes and 58 seconds long, but you won't be able to hear it. So you have plenty of time to go get a drink or whatever. And if you don't make it back in time, don't worry, I'll fill in the time till you get back. That's what I usually say off the air. But
that's funny. I know.
Okay, so we'll be right back with more of Lydie Denier. She's the name of the book is A Voice for Ambassador J. Christopher Stephen. It's a personal book as well as a political book, I guess, and a very lovely woman, Lydie Denier. We'll be back right after these messages with more of our guest. And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com and our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we can trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh, boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles, and Jack Parsons, everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people and different chapters and information. Anton LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the Opperman Report .com bookstore. We have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group Strawman is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that Strawman are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations. Live Friday night, and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod This and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. And on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air. You get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report. We have an opportunity to get this show on a major AM/FM station in California. We've been approved. So if you want to sponsor us into that, so incredibly inexpensive that your ad would be heard by a the range covers 5 million people in population where your ad would be broadcast, and all these other stations would be thrown in for free. So really affordable prices to sponsor OppermanReport.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get a copy of that book at emailrevealer.com, or you can get a copy of that book now. It's back up on Amazon.com. How to Become a Successful Private Investigator by Ed Opperman. And this book has been updated a little bit from the previous book that we had that was available to our wonderful listeners. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Lydie Denier from A Voice for Ambassador J. Christopher Stephen. And her website is lydiedenier.co. That's LYDIEDENIER.co. And also you can find her on Twitter and Facebook and the usual spots. Now, you were saying before the break that he had a concern about security. Now, can you describe the way where his office is and his home? How was that set up? It wasn't like an embassy. It wasn't a real embassy. It was some kind of a big house or a compound, right?
Well, at first he was in Tripoli. So in Tripoli, it's a small compound embassy, but this is usually where the ambassador. This is where he was when he was the deputy chief of mission for Ambassador Crest. This is where they were in Tripoli. But for September 11th, he was asked to be an American physical presence in Benghazi. And in Benghazi, it looked more like a large house. They had those gates that, it was not safe. It was not ready to have to me, in my own opinion, that place was not ready to have an ambassador, especially like 3 weeks before. In Tripoli, he was an avid runner, and Chris used to run, on the streets and everything. And some thugs, actually, they were throwing stones at him. So after that, Gregory Hicks told him, listen, you cannot run outdoor, outside the compound anymore. You have to stay inside the compound. So he knew things had changed from 2011, from November 2011, his last trip to Benghazi, to Libya. He knew things have changed, and it was more dangerous. Back in 2011, he had 17 armored guards with him, 17 of them. In 2012, as an ambassador, he had only 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 2.
Now, what's the official reason for that?
The official reason was that, because I said, is it because of cutting the budget? And someone said to me, no, it has nothing to do, because if you're, a guard, whether you're working or not, you're still getting paid.
Right.
So it had nothing to do with that. People put the blame on him, that he said, no, I don't need security. Libyan people love me. And no, he was there in 2007. And when he went back to 2011, he had 17 of them next to him. I mean, he was 6'3.5", white boy, blonde, blue eye. I mean, grayish towards the end. But he was not somebody who could blend in Libya. Actually, Chris could never blend anywhere. He was mostly the tallest guy around. So when he asked for more security, it's not, because he had doubts that he could be safe, and it's just that he knew, and they should have listened to him. After all, they sent him because he was extremely knowledgeable about Libya. And what happened since Gaddafi was gone, and we should have listened to him. If the guy wants more security, then give it to him.
Okay, describe first, what was this facility like in Benghazi? You said it was like a large house. Was this like in a residential neighborhood, or was it mixed use? Was there offices there? How far was it to the market? That kind of stuff.
So I've never been to Benghazi, so right. I know as much as the people who look online or people who saw the movie 13 Hours. What I know is that there was a restaurant in front, across the street. There was, it looked like a normal house. There was a pool. There was a few bedrooms in there. They had built a safe house. With gates, that when you lock someone inside, nobody can go in.
Right.
What they forgot when they actually built it is that there was enough space underneath the door, but if it started a fire, the smoke will go inside. So they were smoked to death. Him and Sean Smith, got smoked to death. But it looked like a normal house, streets, and not too far from the beach. And Chris used to write to me that Libya has beautiful beaches around. You can take long runs on the beach, but in 2012 things changed, and you could not just go out there and run or do whatever you wanted. You had to have security around.
So now, he must have had a relationship with these militias that we were arming to overthrow Gaddafi. So now, what made that relationship with these militias change? Because if he had their support in the past, and now he doesn't have their support, he has to live in fear. What caused that change? Do you know?
Well, in my opinion, and it's because of research I've done, those people, I'm sure some of them said, okay, you think you are here for a certain reason, but this is what your government is doing, whatever it was, whatever the statement it was. And it was not after him per se. They were after. I think Libyan wanted Americans not to barge into their business, and they wanted them gone. I really believe it was not against Chris per se, but Chris at the time was the American with the highest rank, and they went after him. And they knew him at that level that he will have impact, especially on those dates. If it had been another ambassador, most likely that the same thing would have happened to him too.
Right. Now, what was his relationship like with John McCain? Because John McCain took frequent trips over there, and you would see him photographed with these same militia guys. What was Christopher's relationship with John McCain?
Chris was very fond of John McCain, and John McCain, vice versa. It was the same thing, was very fond of him too. Chris loved coffee, and John McCain thought that he made the best espresso. And it was probably like a father figure that Chris saw in John McCain. But he never had anything bad to say about him. And I know John McCain was very, sad and hurt when he heard the news that Chris had been killed.
Now, the film 13 Hours, did you feel that was a good portrayal of what went on?
Well, so when the book came out, I read the book. When the movie came out, I did not want to see it. And the reason why, I was not ready to see someone playing Chris. But a few months ago, I said to myself, okay, I have to watch it. I've been in touch with Chris Paronto and Gregory Hicks said, you have to see the movie. It's really well done. So I saw it, and it's extremely well done. And I cried the whole movie. And at the end, I'm shocked that actually few of them are still around to talk about it. It was brutal what went on. And Chris Paronto says that if they had not been ordered to stand down and not going to help the ambassador, most likely they would be alive today. But they were asked not to go, and they're the ones, Chris Paronto and a few other guys, they didn't obey, and they went to help, but it was too late for Chris and Sean Smith. But yeah, I didn't care. Actually, I didn't care at all about the way Chris was portrayed. Granted, they did not get hold of his family none of his friends. Really, for the actor who portrayed him to see who was Chris. In the movie, they show Chris in his bathing suit around the pool, tanning, enjoying, his free time in Benghazi, and writing in his journal. And that's not who Chris was at all. So the only thing in that movie is that Chris they portrayed in the movie is not the Chris that loved one. We know him.
Okay, but otherwise you felt it was a pretty fair portrayal.
Oh, absolutely. Everything that went on and those heroes who went out there and helped and tried to get them, to bring them alive. No, it's extremely well done. It's very well filmed, very well directed. Absolutely.
Now, what do you think was the motivation for the attack on that day? You hear these different stories. One was the theory about this film, this YouTube video, and you hear these other stories too, that there was some kind of an attempt to disarm these militias and these and get those arms over to Turkey. Are you familiar with those kind of stories?
Well, I'm familiar with the first story, the YouTube video, which is ridiculous because that video, that short movie, came out actually in July, not in September. It came out in July, so it had nothing to do with the video. Definitely not. Stories that have been, going around within 48 hours of his death. The media said, "Oh, Chris Stevens was gay, and that's why they sent him over there because they don't like gay people, and they killed him because he was gay." And it was like, what? So ridiculous. Another story is that, he was actually, working with the rebels to get the arms there. No, it's since Gaddafi was gone. I mean, granted, there was lots of arms around, and you try to get those arms not in the hands of bad people. You want to tell them, okay, give up your arms. You don't need them. Start fresh. But there's been lots of stories flying around, and I really believe that they killed him because they wanted, they didn't want the American government to tell them what to do. And I think that's why they killed him. It was to make a point. It was to say, American, go home.
Okay. And it is, when you think about this guy who actually made that YouTube video, that guy was arrested, The whole scenario around the making of that bizarre YouTube video to begin with, and the guy had some kind of meth convictions in the past and money laundering, and then would be arrested for producing this. It's just such a bizarre...
Can you imagine if anybody who does a short movie about something and they get arrested because the movie... I mean... when Mel Gibson did the movie about Christ, I mean, lots of people, they were picketing outside the movie, but they didn't put Mel Gibson in jail because he did a movie about Christ. I mean, so it's like if you have to put everyone behind bars who says something about, I saw the movie because I was really curious what it was. Yeah. But then when I found out that actually that movie came out in July 2012, not in September. And maybe in Cairo, few people saw finally the movie on YouTube and they were not happy and they went on the street. But that had nothing to do with Benghazi. Nothing. Like it's been called the Battle of Benghazi. It has nothing to do with that movie. Nothing.
Now, it's funny too. You mentioned about Mel Gibson. He wasn't even arrested for that DUI he got over there. He got away with that, and then the cop actually got fired. So
fired, yeah.
Talk about Mel Gibson. That's a really great example. Now, but another odd thing too that struck me about this little scenario. These 24 hours, the first 24 hours, there's bizarre things going on around this case. One was the Romney press conference. What do you make of that? He does this bizarre press conference in the middle of the night. He's kind of confused about the events because there was another event in Egypt where the wall was breached at an embassy and they put up a black flag. And what do you make of that whole Romney press conference in the middle of the night?
It seems that night lots of things was going on.
Right.
I think people got confused, because of the time difference. So where were you? Were you sleeping? Were you this? Were you that? It was, it's like on September 11th, 2012, I'm pretty sure that by then the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Libya was in a mine. Because on that day, she was sworn in Ambassador Crest, who used to be the ambassador to Libya. She was swearing him as U.S. ambassador to Ghana on September 11, 2012.
Oh, really?
There was so many things going on that day. I talked to Patricia Smith. She is Sean Smith's mom. And she lives in San Diego, and I went to visit with her, and we had lunch together. And she said that on that morning, her son always called her every day when he was in Libya. And she said, on that day, my son said, Mom, I think we're all going to die. And she said, come on, son, don't say that. You've been in places around the world that were dangerous. He said, no, Mom, there's just something very different today. There's people around the building, they're taking pictures. We're not sure what's going on, but it's not good. So on September 11th in the morning, Benghazi, the compound, they knew something was up, but they just did not know what. So, but all we know as of now, we know it has nothing to do with the movie. We know it has nothing. It's just, it was just things that was not part of the usual. And as you know, and we've seen it in 13 Hours, those poor guards, they were guards guarding the compound, but they were not armed because they were not allowed to have arms. And it's just like, really? So you're supposed to guard the ambassador, the whole compound, and you don't have a rifle? So, of course, when the bad people came with a rifle, guess what they did? They laughed. They run. It's just, it was like they run or fighting against people who are armed. You cannot do that. It's impossible.
Now, the woman, the mother you described, Smith, this is the woman who appeared at the Trump convention?
Yes, Patricia Smith, yes.
Right. And what's her name again?
Pat
Smith. And she says that Hillary lied to her.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
Well, because when she went to, to bring her son back home, when the casket arrived, Hillary told her that, it's because of his video, but, we're going to make sure that the director, they put him in jail, and it's because of a video. And Pat Smith, didn't believe it was because of a video that came out in Egypt. And her and I, we talked about it. And really, I don't know if you've ever seen the video. It's not very long, and I've seen it. And yeah, it's against Mohammed, but it's like people will do something against Christian or against Jews or against, you don't put them to jail. You don't. Right. They took that. It was like he was a scapegoat, basically, that director. The video was going on. They said, oh, let's ban the video.
Now, you said that her son, Smith, said that they were taking pictures and stuff that afternoon. Did any of that come out in the hearings?
Yes, it came out in the hearing, but people said, that's the side of the government said, well, we don't really know if they were taking pictures, just, souvenir pictures or anything like that. No, they were taking pictures to see how many guys they were inside, to see, the entrance. They knew what to do. Those people knew exactly where was the safe house, which was not really safe after all. So they knew everything. They knew the inside. They had no problem to get in.
Right. So now there's all these different theories that Obama and Hillary, that they could have taken steps that day while this was going on live. They could have taken measures, and there's even these stories you hear about the aircraft carrier was told to turn around and all that kind of stuff. What do you make of those kind of stories?
To me, that's why during the writing of his book, twice I asked, to meet with Hillary Clinton, because I think it's only fair when you write something to have a side of a story. Even though I did watch her, in front of Congress, it's just the question they ask her, it's, to me, I want to make it more personal. So I want to ask her why you didn't do anything. Why that day you didn't say, hey, we need to help him. We need to have Chris Stevens back here in the States. But I've never heard from her. Twice I asked. When I asked Donald Trump to meet with him, it took a few months, but I didn't meet with him. So to me, it's like I don't want to take one side or the other side. I need to know both sides. What are they going to do? And for Mr. Trump, make sure that this never happens again. You send ambassadors, you send your people in rough country. You have to make sure that they get anything they want, any security they want. That can never happen again. What happened to Chris should have never happened.
Now, there's one detail of this is now. My understanding is that in the White House there they had some kind of drone surveillance.
Yes.
Right. Now, to get those drones over above that facility in Benghazi, that's not something that can be done in just a few hours. It takes a long time to get there. 6-8 hours for these things to fly over there because they don't fly very fast. Are you aware of those details?
I've been told of those details. What puzzled me is that a few months ago, I was at a dinner party, and there was a young Italian woman. She's studying in the U.S., and when she found out who I was and the book I was writing, and she said, I am so sorry. She said, my country, Italy, had plane ready to go and help, but they were told not to go. So to me, it's like everybody, there was not one country who didn't want to go and help. They wanted to help, but somehow nobody came. Did you know that when the 4 bodies arrive in Tripoli and they put them at the hospital there, and it's actually Gregory Hicks who had to go to identify the bodies, then to bring the bodies back to the States, that the American government did not send one plane to pick them up. They actually took a normal Libyan airline to go back home.
I didn't know that.
Not one plane came to get them.
And is there an official reason for that?
Oh, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard the official reason. No, I haven't heard it. They're going to say, oh, we didn't have a plane available. I don't know. That's something that someone should investigate on. But not one plane. They took a normal flight. And Gregory Hicks said, as we were taking off, we were surrounded by people with arms, and we thought they were going to shoot at the plane. We never thought we were going to make it alive. Never. It's when they were way high up in the sky that they thought to themselves, we're going home. It's sad. It's really sad. You cannot count. I mean, it's very sad that those people couldn't count on the government. And when you work for the State Department, you always think that they're going to watch you back, that whatever happens, they're going to watch you back. And they did not. They did not come for them.
Well, then what do you think the reason why? What do you think was going on there in the Situation Room? Because Obama was there and Hillary was there. What do you think went on, and what was their reason for not dispatching some kind of help?
They tried to, they even blamed it on the Libyan prime minister at the time. And the prime minister said, no. I've always said, it's not because of the video, not at all. And when him and the American government, we talked to one of them, and they said, no, it has nothing to do. We know it's militant who went there and smoked to death everyone. So I don't really know why what's going on. It probably has something to do with, who knows, with oil, with who knows what. But they thought that, okay, we only lost 4. That's it. even when Hillary Clinton said, we did not lose one life in Libya, and I'm like, yeah, you lost 4. But to her, in her mind, we lost 4, but because it's on the American, embassy,
Right.
so it's American soil. So she doesn't count those 4. But those 4, granted, it's on American soil because the embassy is American. But guess what? It's on foreign soil, and it's on Libya's soil. This is where they died. So when she said, we didn't lose one life, no, you lost 4.
What do you make of the hearings? That we have had extensive hearings on this. Does it feel to you like something's being covered up?
Yes, well, and more. I mean, this morning, when you have Comey that is back in, testifying, it's obviously something's going on, something that the American people should be, aware of. And I'm glad that the Congress is not letting them, slide anything. And I do believe they're not going to stop until they're satisfied with answers. And as an American, we deserve answers. We want to feel safe again. And granted, in this world right now, I'm not sure which country feels safer. You look at what happened in France. You look at what, it's really hard. But yeah, it's still going on. It's sad. It would have been so easy to, when that happened, say, listen, I made a mistake, and it should have never happened. It will never happen again. But I made a big mistake. I thought we should do this, but it was wrong, and that would have been it. But now she started to lie and to sit on so many emails and it's just, why lying? Why? What for?
Well, she's a criminal.
Yes.
When you look into the history of the Clintons, with the Clinton Foundation and what they're doing in Haiti, they're a crime family. But the thing is, my question is about these hearings, because even Cynthia McKinney, she was a former congresswoman. She's very experienced with I've been involved in a couple of congressional investigations and 2 congressional hearings as well. But now it doesn't seem in this case that the congressional investigators, the congressmen, are asking the right questions to really get at what's going on here. Cynthia McKinney seems to feel that there's some kind of a greater cover-up going on that none of us are aware of.
I know.
So what do you think?
It's like in a court. When you get you have the people that they have to vote yes, he did it, or no, he didn't do it, and that's why we should have real people asking real questions. Because it's just at one point it's like, okay, no, ask this, ask that, and they don't do it. So yeah, I'm not sure who's saving, whose butt they're saving. I don't know. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's like a saga that, I do believe, will we ever know really what happened to Chris and Sean Smith and Glen Doherty and Tyrone Woods? To me, it feels like it's like with Jeff Kennedy. Look, it's been so many years, but still, they still come up with things that, maybe this happened, or maybe it was his fault, or maybe this. I mean, or with Marilyn Monroe, was she killed? Did she kill herself? I mean, there's all this conspiracy, which, if you look at all of them, it has to do with politics.
Right. Now you said that you met with Donald Trump. How did this come about?
I asked to have a meeting with him, so I had called his campaign manager at the time, was Corey, and a few months later, they were in Southern California, and he called me and he said, okay, so how about this week? And I said, well, how about tomorrow? And I like to make my own opinion of people.
Okay.
And, people say, oh, there's that, oh, he's this, he's that, oh, be careful, oh, but, he he gave me the courtesy of a meeting, which she did not. He listened to me. He was curious about how I met Chris. I told him I was writing a book, and I was hoping for the book to come out for September 11th, for the anniversary of his death. So he wanted to know a lot about him. And we talked about immigration because, I've been through immigration in this country. And I told him about how difficult it was to be in this country, to work in this country. I mean, twice, my H1 once said, was not going to be renewed. My first green card was denied because they said, you're taking the job of an American. You have to go home. So it was very hard in my time back in the mid-'80s when I first arrived here. We talk about a lot of different things. And I told him, I said, I do hope if you become president that what happened to Chris and the three others, that will never happen again. When you go in a country that it's really, really hard, you need to protect your own. And he said, I will.
Where did you meet with him? Like in a hotel room, in a meeting room?
No, he has a home in Beverly Hills.
Oh, really? Okay. So you met at his home then? Okay.
Yes.
Now, he must have fell in love with you when he saw you, right? Because people should know. Lydie is a very beautiful woman. You go to a website, this is a gorgeous woman. She wanted to put on the video. I'd be too distracted. There's no way I'd be able to do this. I'd be fumbling over my notes here. Okay. So he must have been taken with you immediately because he's a very well-known flirt, right? Was he charmed by your beauty?
Well, he's very charming, and yes, he was charmed. And he said, "By the way, I have to tell you, you're a very beautiful woman." He said, "Oops, don't quit that because, I might get in trouble." And I said, "Sir, don't worry. I am a European woman, so I am used to that. Do not worry about anything." He said, "Oh, good." So.
Okay. So now, when you brought up, who brought up the problem with the visas? Was that you or him?
Oh, no, I brought it up because he asked me, how did I meet Chris? I said, well, I was not an American back then, and I had to have my visa back in my passport to be able to come home. And that's how we got to discuss, immigration, how hard it was. And I told him that back in 1984, I went to spend Christmas in New York. To visit a friend of mine who had married an American 2 years before that. And she said, come visit. New York is fantastic. You're going to love America. And I said to Donald Trump, I said, I arrived at the airport in New York, Kennedy Airport. And the officer said, are you a model? And I said, yes, I am. And he said, are you here for work? And I said, no, I'm here to spend Christmas and New Year's Eve. And he said, well, you have to leave in 10 days. And he gave me a permit for 10 days. So it was much harder to come visit in this country and to stay and even to work.
Now, did he express to you a familiarity with the H-1B visa process? Because, with his modeling agency, he's imported 250 of these models using the H-1B visas.
Yeah.
So he was familiar with the process then, right?
Oh, he was very familiar with the process, very familiar. And yes, you get a permit. It's for a year, and it can be renewed. But after 7 years, it cannot be renewed. So during that, and normally you're supposed to go back in your own country for 1 year, and I didn't want to go back. I was so happy here, and I was working, and I wanted to work more. But lucky me, I auditioned for the television series Tarzan, and that helped a lot, to get a different type of visa, which is an E-visa, which was good for 5 years.
Now, I've watched maybe not the Tarzan series, but I've watched some Tarzan movies. Now, there was someone in Tarzan that had a thick French accent.
Yes.
Who was that? What role was that?
the audition process was, I think there was like 800 girls that they saw for months. And the producers thought that I was a reminiscence of one of the Jane in the old Tarzan, and with Johnny Weissmuller. And so I got the part. And here I was, So in the show, they explained that, yes, I'm French-born and had some study in the States, and I end up in the jungle with Tarzan. So it worked.
Yeah, sure. It happens all the time. Now,
it happens all the time.
Now, back to Trump for a second. Now, did he have any suggestions on how he would alter the H-1B visa process or ideas? Or?
No, we didn't go that far. He had another meeting, and I had to go. I was actually late for my meeting with him because if you are familiar with the 405 freeway, it can be bumper to bumper. And my meeting at his house was at 9:30 a.m., and I did leave. I live in Laguna Beach, and I did leave at 6:15. And that day, it was crazy. It was bumper to bumper. It didn't matter which way I went. I just couldn't get through. And so I called his campaign manager, Corey, and I said, I am so sorry. I know it should never, never happen. I should not be late, but I am going to be late. And I was late for like half an hour, 40 minutes. But he was there. He was waiting. His next meeting after me was waiting too. So.
Right. Okay. Did he have any questions for you about what you thought went on there in Benghazi?
He asked how I felt and my feelings about the whole thing, and pretty much I told him what I told you today. There's people who are responsible and they don't take their responsibilities, and they should. People can make mistakes, definitely, but when you don't recognize your mistakes, then you should not be, you should just retire, really. Hillary Clinton was not able to take care of 4 people. How would she be able to take care of the whole country?
Did he have any theories about what he thought went on there?
Oh, he didn't express it to me.
Okay. All right. So now, are you going to make an official endorsement that you want to see Donald Trump as president over Hillary Clinton?
I should, no?
I don't know, man.
I should. I always talk about him, so I should. Yes.
Well, you don't see any flaws in Trump?
Everybody has flaws. I mean, when people say, "Oh, we need someone who's perfect," nobody's perfect. There's flaws in everything, but one of them, what it's going to happen. The other one, granted, you don't know. It's a mystery, and sometimes you have to take your chances. I'm very disappointed in politicians. I'm having a hard time believing in them. They always say things you want to hear. And it's refreshing to have Donald Trump who says the way it is. Is it because I'm European? It's very possible. But it's refreshing. And he does have an appeal to people. He brought up, he opened cans of worms that nobody ever talked about. And because of him, there's lots of things that are on the table. It's like, okay, it's going wrong, and we need to change that. We cannot live in fear. It's not possible. And nowadays, people are afraid. Where do you go? You stay home, and even in your own house, you just don't know what's going to happen. It's on a daily basis these days. So it is.
So wait a second. So you're saying that you endorse his policy, this immigration policy, to keep all Muslims out of the country?
Oh no. I have lots of friends who are Muslim, and they hear. They work hard, like I did. I work hard to become an American. I just didn't come here and just wait. But I went through lots of interviews and lots of background checks, and Muslim friends that I have here, they went through also background checks, and I think the background checks has to be done. It has to be done. I'm not sure why. I mean, every time I come to the airport, I'm always like, they're like, open your suitcase. I don't know. I must have this look that...
You're very suspicious looking, I tell you.
I'm very suspicious looking. I mean, it's worse and worse. Yeah. It's like, why me? I'm an American. Look, I have an American passport. But yet, so it has to be, they have to find a common ground. They have to, and if you go to those countries, you get background checks. Every time I went to the Middle East, they look at your passport. They ask, how long are you going to be here? What for? Who do you know? What's your address? You just don't go over there and just decide to stay. I have a friend who moved to Dubai a few months ago, and she had to have her papers in place, and so it has to be. Yeah, there's way too many things happening right now that it's safety on the safety zone. You have to have background checks. You have to have it. Okay. Back in my time, let me tell you, you really want to become an American back then, back in the mid 80s when I arrived. It's all the questionings and all the papers, and you have to have people signing for you, and you have to, it was amazing, but I did it. It's not impossible. It takes a long time, and you have to be patient, but it's not impossible.
Now the book just came out in September of 2016?
Yes.
How long has it been out?
2.5 weeks.
Okay, great. Then how's the book been received?
It's been, people who read it, they did not know what to expect. And when they read it, I got very good reviews. It's on Amazon.com with paperback and Kindle. It's also on iTunes. It's also on Barnes & Noble with Nook. But people love it. It's a beautiful love story. It's to honor Chris, and people can discover who he was and what's the job, how is it to be a diplomat, and what you go through, and people love it. I love it. I'm very proud of it. I work hard on it. It took me 3 years, but I'm very, very proud of it.
And now people who normally go public and then they're critical of the Clintons, they don't get a lot of press coverage. Have you noticed that? Like a lot of have you noticed any ramifications from writing a book that's negative of the Clintons?
But when you read it, to me, stating the facts, it's not. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not. I don't take either side. The book is about him.
Right.
But yes, I do state the facts. I do talk about Hillary in it. I do mention Trump towards the end of the book. I do talk about Patricia Smith. I do talk about Gregory Hicks. I do talk about a lot of people that were affected with the full lives that we lost over there.
But have you had any trouble getting booked like on more? I know like a lot of the right wing radio and stuff like that will have no trouble putting you on WorldNet Daily. I saw you were promoted on. But have you had any trouble like Good Morning America? They
haven't called me. CNN hasn't called me either.
Yeah, see what I mean? Yeah, it seems like it's an uphill road. So, do you have any appearances coming up you want to promote?
I did Newsmax, which went really, really well with J.D. Hayworth. I was on a few radio shows. Rita Cosby is one of them, and she said she wants me back. I'd love to be on Good Morning America, definitely. And I hope I hope that those people will read the book and said, oh, okay, so it's about a human being that deserves to be known. It deserves to be, people to know who Chris was the man and the friend. He was somebody's son. He was somebody's friend. He was somebody's lover. And, that life, that name is, nobody really talks about him. So that's the whole book. That's the purpose of the book. It's for him not to be forgotten, to be remembered. I'm doing lots of local radio shows, and I'm trying my best to get the book out there and to get the book known and for people to read it.
Okay, great. Lydie Denier, thank you so much. The book is A Voice for Ambassador J. Christopher Stephen. You can find it on Amazon.com. It's also in the Opperman Report bookstore, and the link will be up on the blog too. Lydie, I can't thank you enough. You're a very delightful woman. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
And please, put it out there. Just Twitter and Facebook, and
You got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed. Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, well, there you go. Lydie Denier, delightful woman for sure. Beautiful woman. Story of Ambassador Christopher Stephen. We'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com. And our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we can trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles, and Jack Parsons, everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people and different chapters and information. Anselm LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the Opperman Report .com bookstore. We have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group Strawman is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that Strawman are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations live Friday night, and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod This and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. And on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air, you get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report. We have an opportunity to get this show on a major AM/FM station in California. We've been approved. So if you want to sponsor us into that, so incredibly inexpensive that your ad would be heard by the range covers 5 million people in population where your ad would be broadcast, and all these other stations would be thrown in for free. So really affordable prices to sponsor OppermanReport.com. Get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get a copy of that book at emailrevealer.com, or you can get a copy of that book now. It's back up on Amazon.com. How to Become a Successful Private Investigator by Ed Opperman. And this book has been updated a little bit from the previous book that we had that was available to our wonderful listeners.